of an enemy other. And now
Need something else to unite us.
Right. And that's what we're wrestling through together. And you're in the middle of this maelstrom, which is fascinating with this book.
Well, maybe we could unite ourselves in recognition of the enemy within.
Right.
That would be a good thing.
Crucifixion of the self. Right? The mortification of the flesh.
Well, one of the things that I talked about in Rule 7 was the idea that there's this idea, that Christian idea, that the Messiah is the person who takes the sins of the world onto himself. And I thought about that for a long time. It's like, because these ideas have psychological realities. Like, well, what does that mean? Well, it means, and I've seen this play out in my clinical practice when this has been very practical injunction. To take the sins of the world unto yourself is to read history as a perpetrator and not as a victim. And that's unbelievably useful for two reasons. First of all, it's like, it's the case. It is the history of atrocity, is the history of this human psyche as perpetrator. And you're human. So like, clue in, it's about you. And so, and that's the terrible side of it. That's almost unbearable, and that's why people don't do it, because who the hell wants to envision themselves as the perpetrator of history's crimes? But then there's a perverse reversal that goes along with that, which is that, well, if you're the monster that did those terrible things, you might also be the monster that could set it right. It's like, oh, and you wouldn't realize that to begin with, because you wouldn't have enough. And it's kind of like respect for yourself. You don't take yourself seriously enough until you know that how bad you could become. So, and that's also something I learned from reading Jung, because Jung was, of course, his basic idea was that it was necessary for psychological development to encounter the shadow, the dark part of yourself, and that the shadow reached all the way down to hell. And he meant that. He meant that as literally as you could mean it.